Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to introduce a new headless bot sample that uses the Zoom Meeting SDK for Linux along with Docker to get up and running as quickly as possible with a meeting bot. If you look at my screen here, you can see that I already have the GitHub repository for this app open. You should be able to find a link for it in the description of this video, and if not, you can search for Zoom headless bot sample on Google, and it should be the first couple of links. So looking at this GitHub repository that we have here, I'm really just going to go through the README and detail all the steps you need to take to get up and running quickly. In a future video, we'll go over more technical details as well as advanced use cases. Looking at the prerequisites for this README that we have here, we can see that we need Docker installed as well as a Zoom account that's able to create a Zoom Meeting SDK app. Once we're positive that we have those, we can go ahead and move on to step one, which is to clone the repository. I'm going to copy this command here and open up a terminal so that we can clone this repository. Perfect. Now let's see what we have for step two. Step two is to download the Zoom Linux SDK files. So these are the files, the shared library and other library files that our C++ program is going to rely on. So in order to download these, we'll head over to the Zoom app marketplace. Here you can see I'm already signed in. So underneath the develop dropdown, I can click build app. For those of you that have developed apps with us before, you'll see a bit of a different layout where we have our new unified build flow. We have the same features here as before, but instead we've combined it all into one easy to use source instead of having separate app build pages. My first step here is going to be to change the name of my app. I'm going to call it a sample bot. Then I want to head over to the embed tab on the left-hand side. I'll click that, and here we can see we have a meeting SDK option. So I want to enable this, and this will give me the ability to download these SDK files that we need for various platforms. We're targeting Linux today, so let's click that and download that latest version. Perfect. If we look over here in our downloads folder, you can see that we have the repository that we downloaded, as well as these SDK files. So let's open up this tar archive. And once this expands, we'll be able to see the various SDK files that I was referring to. So now that we have these files, we want to copy these over to our source code repository. Let's take a look at our project. We have a lib folder here and a Zoom SDK folder inside of it. If we go back to our README and we look at step two, we want to download the latest version of the Zoom SDK for Linux from the Zoom Marketplace and place it in that lib/Zoom SDK folder. So let's go ahead and do that. We want to place these files specifically right into that folder. So I'm going to copy these files and then paste them into the lib Zoom SDK folder. Perfect. Now that's done, we don't need the old SDK files that we downloaded. So just to clean up our workspace, I'm going to move those to the trash. Let's keep looking at our README to see what we have to do next. So we're done with step two. On step three, we'll want to get our Zoom Meeting SDK credentials and add them to our config.ini by copying the sample and then placing those credentials right in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is copy that file. So let's move into our project in the terminal, and let's use that command that's from the README. We can copy it directly once again. We'll paste it right in there. Perfect. Let's look at this new config.ini file that we've created. So here we can see a variety of options to configure our app. There's more than what's listed here, but at a bare minimum, we'll want to provide it with a client ID, a client secret, and a join URL. As you can see here, it could alternatively take a meeting ID and password, but a join URL is going to be easier in most cases. Let's go to the app that we've created and where we've enabled the Meeting SDK and go back to the Basic Information tab. Here we can see our client ID, so we'll go ahead and copy that and put it in the relevant field for our config.ini. We also have our client secret. And while you wouldn't typically display this on a video or store it in plain text, for demonstration purposes, we're going to go ahead and copy this into the config.ini file and I'll regenerate my secret as soon as this video is over. So the next thing we have to do is to copy the join URL for a meeting that we'd like to join. I'm going to join the meeting that I'm using to record this video. So let me go ahead and copy that join URL and paste it into the relevant field right here. Excellent. Let's save the changes to this file and see what's next in our steps. We've configured the bot. We've added at a minimum a client ID, client secret, and a join URL. Perfect. Now we'll want to use Docker to run the bot. Here we're using Docker Compose, which will create a container for us that has a base Linux OS, as well as ALSA and Pulse Audio, so that in a headless manner, we can capture raw data from the meeting. So we need to use this Docker Compose up command. I'm going to go ahead and paste that into our terminal. And because I have some of these commands cached here, it'll be a little bit quicker when I run this because I've run it before. But essentially what's happening is it's building an Ubuntu installation in the background, installing the dependencies, and then using VC package to install the C++ dependencies. As you can see, it's done that, and now it's building our application, and we'll run it once it's complete. Once it runs, it'll join the meeting and begin to record raw audio data. Excellent. So you can see it's requesting local recording privilege. And if we look at the meeting that we have open, we can see that the sample bot has joined our meeting, and we have a prompt here to approve local recording. I'm going to allow that. And if we go back to our terminal, we can see that now it's writing out that meeting audio PCM file. So we're capturing raw audio data from the meeting, and we're streaming it to a local file. I hope this was a good demonstration of just how quick and easy it is to get started with the new headless bot sample for the Zoom Meeting SDK for Linux. Thank you and happy coding.